Hi everybody, Gary Williams here for Toolbarn.com. Hey, the topic for today's episode, gun show. And I'm not talking about these puppies, and I'm not talking about the kind that are protected by the Second Amendment, not those either. Actually, what we're talking about are hand tools that are becoming increasingly power-driven or battery-operated, and I'm going to show you a few examples. For example, this grease gun from DeWalt. Now this thing is great for people who work on heavy-duty machinery, and we're going to show you just a little bit more very shortly. We're also going to take a look at some innovative caulk guns from Newborn, and I did say the term innovative and caulk gun in the same sentence, but when you see the segment, you'll understand why. But first, we're going to take a look at these futuristic battery-driven caulk guns from Milwaukee, and I tell you, these things are pretty cool. They also save you a lot of wear and tear. So we've got all that coming up. Don't go off half caulked. Stay with us. If you own a home, you probably own at least one of these. It's a caulking gun, and you've seen these in the hardware stores. You can get them for under 10 bucks. They're the gray metal types of deals, and they're pretty inexpensive. They'll do the job. They're a little bit messy. They're not very easy to use, but you're not doing a whole ton of work. However, there are people who do things like caulking and using adhesives all day long, and I tell you, pumping these things manually can get just a little bit fatiguing, which is why Milwaukee, I love these things, Milwaukee has come up with a line of battery-operated caulk guns. Look at these things. Now this is probably a little more recognizable as a caulk gun, or at least the kind that you know. Look, now that's great. These things dispense the product very evenly. You get a nice smooth finish. They're ergonomic, you know, they're easy to hold, balance pretty well, they're easy to use. They take a lot of wear and tear off your hands. If you can imagine a day's worth of work with one of these things trying to feed all the caulk that you would have to feed on a big job if you're a professional, and compare it to this thing, well, there's just no comparison. These are just simpler to use, they're ergonomic, they're reliable, they're durable. I'd suggest you take a look at them on Toolbarn.com because they're really worth it. If you work on your own car at home, chances are you've got a grease gun somewhere in your garage. Now, these things are pretty inexpensive. You can get them for 10 bucks usually at a hardware store, and they're kind of messy to work with, but they'll get the job done if you just have occasional use for it. Actually, that sounds a little bit like those caulk guns that we just talked about, doesn't it? Those cheap things. Yeah, anyway, same kind of deal. If you're working on heavy machinery, for example, big rigs, or if you're working on agriculture equipment, some of the big tractors and some of those kind of things, you want one of these. This is a battery-operated grease gun from DeWalt, and I'll tell you, this thing has a variable speed trigger. It'll dispense grease at about 5 ounces per minute. It's got up to 10,000 max PSI. It's got a 42-inch hose. It's got a pump filter screen. It's got just a lot of features that make it an excellent tool. You'll get a lot of work done, and I tell you what, it just beats having to operate the grease gun by hand. It's automatic, obviously, battery operated. The batteries last a long time. They're interchangeable with other DeWalt products, so check it out on Toolbarn.com. For this last segment, we sat around and we brainstormed some ideas about how do we make caulk guns interesting. And we talked a little bit about zombies because, well, our minds wander, but zombies are fun. And we thought, what if we combine zombies with caulk guns? And we call it the caulking dead. Potential, right? But then we decided, nah, that'd be stupid. And we really didn't need to, because when you see what we've got coming up, we think the caulk guns you're going to see are interesting enough. With us is Brian Glass from Newborn, and you know, Brian, I'm going to have you talk about these things because these really aren't like any caulk guns that I've seen before. Yes. And they're really cool, but there's a reason for it. Right?
Oh yeah, these are sausage guns. They fit a 20-ounce sausage pack. So if you go into like your grocery store, for a layman, you'd see like a sausage in a tube with crimped ends. Similar thing, but you have sealants, adhesives, things like that inside. Okay. But for years, 30 years more, the color of them has always just been a gray or silver, whatever you want to call it. Right. We decided that, you know, people obviously love options. We wanted to give people those options for a number of reasons. One is that some people on the job site are running different materials. Or they might have silicone and urethane and some adhesives.
Yeah.
So, you know, to differentiate which material's in which gun.
Quick way to tell them apart.
Exactly.
Different colors, yeah.
You could personalize them.
Sure.
Local team sports, for example. You could personalize it if your company has a certain colors.
Yeah.
Red, blue, green, whatever. You can utilize that to kind of self-promote your company.
Sure.
You know, for example, we did some cool designs like this camo, which is extremely popular. We got a lot of jokesters, of course.
Sure.
I can't find my caulk gun at the job site. Well, that's why we came out with a neon one. So
well, you'll find that one okay.
For
Yeah.
The supervisor why
Right.
they can't do their job.
But the function of these is very similar, right? They're all sausage guns and they all work very much
Correct.
the same.
Yes.
Talk a little bit, now this is something I didn't know, is that there's a kind of a power ratio for these different guns. Explain that.
Sure, and that goes for all manual caulk guns. You have something that's, in this case, it's considered 18-to-1 thrust ratio.
Right.
So what that means is for every 1 pound of thrust that I'm applying onto the trigger, okay, like that, I'm pushing with 18 times that.
Okay.
So 1 pound here, 18 pounds force here. 2 pounds on the trigger, 36 pounds.
Okay.
And that thrust ratio is important because different materials have different viscosities, thicknesses.
Right.
And you know, you'll have urethanes that can actually change viscosity in temperatures. 50 degrees is going to be a lot more difficult to gun the material than at 80 degrees.
So it's really an efficiency measure, and it's a thing that relates to how hard you got to work and if you're caulking all day on a job, that makes a big difference, I would guess.
Yes, it does.
So the easier it is to extrude the material, the better off you are.
Typically, that's true. Like a homeowner might go into a lower thrust gun, 3-to-1, 6-to-1, because the materials are a little bit thinner.
Right, and maybe you're just doing a bathtub instead of a whole building, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
And one thing to note on ours is you have a couple options. This is a sausage gun with a sausage cup that's installed.
Okay.
But we give you an option to put what we call a bulk conversion
Right.
cup inside, and that will allow you to, you can imagine this is inside, it'll create a vacuum.
Right.
So when I draw the material up, it'll suck the material out of a bulk bucket.
Right, okay. Well, we're going to talk some more with Brian about these guns offline. We'll give you some bonus material, and we're going to talk more about caulk guns. You know, we hope you've kind of enjoyed this gun show that we've got. We think everybody has the right to bear caulking guns. You know, and you can hang these, I'll tell you, they're so cool. You can hang them in your pickup truck window if you really want to. They are really almost works of art, actually. I mean, they're very cool. So we're gonna show you some more of that stuff online and some bonus material. I tell you what, if you are interested in any of these things, check out Toolbarn.com, because we've got a wide variety of the caulking guns, nail guns, you know, just about any kind of tool guns that you're looking for. Toolbarn.com, check it out. Thanks for being with us, and we hope you join us next time.